The 2026 NFL Draft is officially here, and I have my final mock to deliver. Welcome back to a new episode of the Chotes Podcast. I'm your host, Darian, and I don't want to spend too much time talking about anything more than what's going on right now. But before I get into this, please make sure you like, subscribe, and also comment down below and share as well your thoughts on the NFL Draft, what your team should do, and also what your team should do throughout the entire draft weekend. But without further ado, let's get right into it. First overall pick, Las Vegas Raiders. Don't need to spend too much time talking on this. I already have it on the board. Fernando Mendoza will be the selection, in my opinion. Franchise quarterback, he's on the way. They brought in Kirk Cousins to be the bridge gap, but I think at some point this season, or definitely next year in year two, Fernando will be the guy going forward for this Raiders franchise. Number 2 is where the draft starts, in my opinion, but also, is this already a lock pick as well? David Bailey seems to be picking up a lot of smoke as of late. And I think Arvell Reese has a chance of being drafted number 2 as well. But I strongly believe the Jets are more so going for a pure edge instead of a project or a throw you here, throw you there type of edge rusher, right? I think Aaron Glenn wants a solidified pick, and I think David Bailey can definitely be that option for him. At pick 3, realistically, this is where the draft starts. The Cardinals have a plethora of options to go through. Could they go Arvell Reese? Could they go Cardinal Tate? I doubt it, right? But Jeremiah Love, Sonny Styles, Francis Mwaga. I think all 1, 2, 3, 4 of these players could be in AZ, or they possibly could trade down with the Chiefs or Cowboys. I'm one to think that they're going to stand put right here. And from what the tea leaves are saying, the rumor mill is saying, Daniel Jeremiah, Peter Strager, a lot of guys out there, a lot of notable draft analysts are saying that the Cardinals are going to either trade down with a trade partner, of course, or select Jeremiah Love. I don't think they should do Jeremiah Love, in my opinion, but all signs point to J Love going to the Arizona Cardinals. Now, at 4, it gets a bit tricky right here, but I think this is where I believe the Titans should go. I think they need to solidify, in my opinion, the other side of their defensive line, right? You already have Jermaine Johnson. You have Jeffrey Simmons. You have John Franklin Myers. You need that second edge rusher to really bolster up and complete this defense, in my opinion. You could go linebacker as well. Sonny Styles is staring you right in the face. And I definitely could think this option is very plausible. But at the same time, I think given his raw potential, his athletic ability, I believe Arvell Reese will be heading to the Tennessee Titans. At 5, in my opinion, the Giants still don't have a dire need. They can go guard right here, but Francis Mwaga, even though he's projected to play tackle at the next level, can play guard as well. Maybe too rich for them at pick 4 or pick 5. I'm sorry. You could go Sonny Styles, but I think they love Caleb Downs a lot, and I think he will be the option right here, the choice at pick 5. Now, in my opinion, the Browns have a lot of options right here too. Could it be Cardinal Tate? Should it be a tackle? Right? They could definitely trade down with the Chiefs or Cowboys. The Cowboys have a very huge love for someone like Sonny Styles. And I'm going to make this trade happen. This is my first trade of the draft, right? The Browns need to stock up they need to stock up on as many draft picks as possible. And what will it take to get someone like Sonny Styles? Maybe swapping the first round pick. So I will propose that trade first, because who's to say Sonny Styles can make it to pick 12? I don't think he will, right? And if the Browns can swap some picks and still get their receiver and tackle in this year's class, I think it'll be all for it. So I'm going to have the Browns trade with the Cowboys. Although Spencer Fanu seems to be a lock right now, and I could stay with this pick, I think right here is just too much of a risk for the Cowboys to pass up on someone like Sonny. So I'm going to confirm this. I'm going to send pick 6 and 24. The Cowboys are going to send pick 12 and 20. Possibly more could be added to this if this trade were to go down, but I'm going to stick with this. Can I add another one? Oh, I'm going to add a 4th round pick. Nah, scrap it. I'll just trade for trade, right? You know what I'm saying? They got 2 first rounds. Let it work. Make it happen, right? So, boom. The Cowboys are now picking at number 6, and I think Sonny Styles would be the pick right here. This could be an option where they wait for Mansour Delane, in my opinion, but they can always grab a corner at the end of the first round. So Sonny Styles, I have him going to the Cowboys at pick 6 via trade up. At 7, I think this could be a Cardinal take situation or a man sort of lane for the Commanders. But I mean, if you look at the Commanders' offense right now from a skill position standpoint, when it comes down to weapons, they don't have much to work with, right? They have Terry McLaurin. I'm not even sure who their wide receiver 2 is right now. Maybe Debo, but I think he's a free agent. They don't have any options out there right now in Washington for JD5 to work with. You got to go Cardinal take right here, in my opinion. Make it happen. At number 8, I think this is where you see someone like Mansour Delane come off the board. The Saints, they lost some quality corners in free agency. I want to say Alante Taylor went to the Jets in free agency. He was their second best corner on the team. They still have Kool-Aid McKinstry, right? But I think Mansour Delane would be an awesome pick right here at pick 8 for the New Orleans Saints. It could go Ruben Bain Jr. right here, or they could trade down, right? But I think right here, if they stay put, Mansour Delane will be the selection. Number 9, Ruben Bain has been on this board way too long, in my opinion. And I think he will be gone at pick 9. The Chiefs have a need for edge rusher. They do have Carl Loftus, they have Chris Jones, but they don't have anything else going up front with the defensive line. And I think Ruben Bain will be an amazing plus to their defensive front if they can, add him to that already solid, D-line. Now at 10, a lot of signs point to the Giants looking to add defense and offense with their 5th and 10th overall selections. Some out there are saying that they could go Jordan Tyson at pick 5. I think that's way too much for a guy that's injured, but if you wait 5 more spots, he'll be there. And I think at pick 10, Jordan Tyson will be heading to the New York Giants. Now, at pick 11, the Dolphins have a lot of holes, but I think one of the biggest things you need to do, in my opinion, is to shore up their offensive line. They have a need for receiver and corner, but they could always go receiver and corner with their 2nd first-round pick. I think Francis Muiaga being at the selection is a great grab, in my opinion. They have someone like Paul, who stepped up big time at left tackle last year, but they need a right tackle to solidify the offensive line for Malik Willis to work with. And also, just going forward, man, you need some stability up front. And I think Francis Muiaga would be a great pickup for the Dolphins at pick 11. Or it could go edge rusher right here, right, to replace the presence of Bradley Chubb and have that running mate next to someone like Chop Robinson. But I don't think there's an edge rusher worth picking here at 11. So just go BPA, and I think BPA, Francis Muiaga is the best player on the board right here, and in this position of need. All right, pick 12. Spencer Fondu still on the board, and the Browns have a lot of love for him. I think they make the pickup right here. You shore up that offensive line for whoever's playing quarterback this year, either for Shador or Deshaun, and you grab a receiver with your 2nd first-round pick. 13. This is where another trade could happen, and I think I'm going to make this trade happen. There's a lot of talk about the Lions having this big-time love for Caden Proctor, and anytime Brad Holmes is in love with a prospect, he's going to try everything in his power to trade up and make that draft pick happen, right? We've seen it with Jameson Williams. We've seen it with Jahmyr Gibbs, right? So I think with this selection right here, you kick Penei Sewell to left tackle or keep him at right tackle, and you bring in Caden Proctor to be your franchise left tackle. I think this would be a great pickup for the Lions. And also it gives some more ammunition for the Lions to, grab from a draft standpoint. So, maybe pick 128 and 181 should do the trick, or 157. I don't want to go too rich. I don't think they'll get pick 50. Let's just go 118 and 157. Let's just do that, because I don't think they'll have to give up a 2nd round pick to move up 4 spots. So, all right, boom, we made that happen. So what we gave up, as you can see, the Lions received pick 13, and the Rams received pick 17, pick 118, and pick 157. So I think that's a first-round swap, of course, a 3rd and a 4th. That's still maybe too rich, but if you get your franchise tackle, then why not, right? And they still got their 2nd-round pick, and they also could move around to get more draft assets, later, by trading away a certain player. Who knows, right? So, boom, right here. I think Caden Proctor will be the pick. All right, 14. There is still some really nice quality on the board, but I'm all for the Ravens going guard right here. I think this pick is a layup, in my opinion. This should be an obvious choice, in my opinion, as well. So you go Vega Oyane, arguably the best lineman not named Francis Moyaga in this year's class. He's not really highly ranked on the PFSN simulator, but I think without question he's a baller, and this would be an amazing pickup and to really sure up this Ravens offensive line. All right, now another trade I can oppose right here, or propose, will be this Buccaneers situation. The Buccaneers have made it known they're willing to trade down with anybody who's willing to trade up. And if I'm looking at a team that could possibly trade up to 15, I think the Steelers could make some noise right here. Only because the Steelers have a 12 draft picks and they don't need to make all those picks. They need to start going for some guys that are BPA. And I think if you move up from what pick, where are they at? I think like around like 23, 22. I think you can find yourself a great potential lineman that can, bring in some stability with Broderick Jones recovering from his injury, because all signs point to him not being available for training camp. And if that's the case, I think the Steelers are definitely going O-line with their first round pick. I'm having a brain fart. Buccaneers, I'm sorry. I forgot who I was trading with. So you give up 21 for 15, right? And then you probably throw in, you have a lot of back end stuff. So maybe 135, 161, or 135 and like 99 or something like that. Yeah, let's just make that happen, right? Or you can make it even better. You go on 85 and take out 135. I don't know, right? You do something like this, a package like this, and that should work, right? Maybe a little more, but who knows? I think they should definitely get the job done. They could definitely make some more moves throughout the rest of the draft to bring in some more players. Now, which lineman they go with? You have Monroe Freeland, you have Caleb Luma. I think you have to go best lineman in your opinion. I think Monroe Freeland is a guy that's climbing up the board right now, a really stout player from Georgia, and you really can't go wrong with the Georgia offensive lineman. Although they did draft Broderick Jones, and Broderick Jones has turned a corner. I think given his athletic makeup, his size, and this overall play, I think Monroe Freeland will be a great addition to this Steelers offensive line and protect whoever's playing quarterback. And he's also listed as the second best or third best tackle in this year's class at 6'7", 315 pounds. That is a baller, in my opinion. So go ahead and bring him in and let him develop under the new regime in Pittsburgh. All right, Jets on the board. And I think if he's still there, they make it happen. Mekhi Lemon will be heading to the New York Jets. They have a need for a receiver to play opposite side of Garrett Wilson. Geno Smith, Breece Hall, a healthy offensive line with Armand Membu, and Olu Fashanu on the opposite side. You have some good guard play up front, with your center being led by Tippmann. You have some pieces to work with up front, right? So they may not go linemen, but they have to get some offensive skill position players, right? Because outside of Garrett Wilson and Breece Hall, they don't have much to work with on offense, right? They already got David Bailey to come over and be their franchise edge rusher. I think you draft Mekhi Lemon to be your franchise receiver 2, or maybe even receiver 1 if Garrett Wilson doesn't work out, long term. But this is kind of the makeup of what you want to see from Aaron Glenn, because these are the steps Aaron Glenn took. These are the steps that Aaron Glenn saw happen with Detroit, right? After, Detroit's makeup was securing their offensive line, which, the Jets have already done, in my opinion, when they're healthy. And in year 2, they were able to bring in defensive help and also offensive talent, right? Year 2, we saw Aiden Hutchinson come in. We saw guys like Jameson Williams come in, right? Monterey St. Brown was already on roster. You know what I'm saying? Jahmyr Gibbs was in that same, I want to say, class, if I'm not mistaken. So maybe the year 3. But nevertheless, though, like, we've seen this Lions team get aggressive, and Aaron Glenn has seen a lot of that from someone like Brad Holmes and Dan Campbell. So I think right here, this would be a great pickup for the Jets. All right, the Rams are on the board at pick 17. They grabbed some good ammunition after the Lions moved up to grab their franchise tackle and Kaden Proctor. And this could be a situation where, the Rams could go, Kenya Sadiq. They could go linebacker right here. They could go receiver right here. They could go tackle. I think they possibly will go tackle. I'm looking at someone like Caleb Luma, right? Or if you go further down, the guys that aren't getting enough love, in my opinion, Blake Miller and Max Ian Connor. I think that's how you say his name. Arizona tackle. Right, a lot of great pieces the Rams can bring in and help solidify this offensive line for Matthew Stafford, Kyron Williams, and Blake Corum to work with. I think they're going to go with someone like Caleb Luma if he's there. I can definitely see it happening. I wouldn't be surprised if they try to strike up a Kenyon Sadiq, but I think Kenyon Sadiq will slide a bit in the first round, and you'll see where I have him going later if he's still available for that said team. So right here, I'll have the Rams going Caleb Luma. All right, pick 18. I've been saying this pretty much since the beginning of these mock drafts. I think Dylan Diamond is the piece for the Vikings. I think it's the obvious choice, in my opinion. They could go lineman, but they went lineman last year. They could go corner, but Jermon McCoy is a guy that may not even be healthy enough to play next year. He may require another surgery, right? So he could definitely slide out the first round. Avion Terrell didn't test really well, and he's too small to really bank on from a standpoint of like, can't really trust him to be healthy with his hamstring issues. I think Dylan Diamond at this point in the draft is the best defensive back on the board. He's a chess piece. He's a versatile defender, and he's an athletic and agile and really savvy safety as well, man. He can replace that presence of what they had in Harrison Smith and really be that ultimate move for Brian Flores to work with in his defense. And I think Dylan Diamond would be an amazing pickup for this Vikings team. All right, 19. This is where you can see defense come off the board right here. D tackle to be exact, in my opinion. I think the Panthers did a really solid job of adding to their defense in free agency with the names of Jalen Phillips and Devin Lloyd, of course. And, they have Mike Jack and they have J.C. Horn as your CB1 and CB2, and you have Trayvon Morgan in the back end. I don't like the play style ability of Nick Scott, but I think he can definitely be replaced in the second round. I think right here you go up front, help for Derek Brown. This is going to really solidify your defensive line, in my opinion. Although, if I were to check, the Panthers do have some issues up front with their offensive line, given the fact that Ike Ekwonu is coming off a nasty injury, and he is slated to be, well, not necessarily, because you have Rasheed Walker and you have Taylor Moton, and you have Robert Hunt coming back healthy and Damian Lewis. This could be a world where they do still go tackle, but you brought in Rasheed Walker, and Rasheed Walker is a damn good player, in my opinion. He's relatively really young, and you signed him to, I want to say, a 2-year, maybe the 1-year proof deal regardless, though. I think he is still good enough to bank on for you not to replace him in round 1. So I think I'm going to go Peter Woods with this pick. I say, why the hell not? I think he's too rich for someone like Emmanuel McNeil-Warren right here in the draft, even though I do believe he's a great safety. But why not go to best D tackle in this year's class in Peter Woods to play alongside Derek Brown? I mean, you have Bobby Brown III as your nose, but you can bring back Derek Brown to play nose and have Peter Woods be that bull rushing or pass rushing type D tackle. You know what I'm saying? I think this would be a great pickup for the Panthers, in my opinion. So I'm going to go Peter Woods at pick 20. All right, the Browns are back on the board at pick 20. I'm sorry, I have the Panthers going Peter Woods at pick 19. The Browns are back on the board at pick 20. Now, with that 12th pick, I have them going Spencer Fanu. Right here, I think receiver is definitely in play. And, you want to think big body frame receiver, right? Someone that this Browns team can lean on. I really like the potential of Denzel Boston, right? But I don't know if the Browns are willing to bank on a receiver like that projects more so of a wide receiver 2, where you have guys like Omar Cooper Jr. and Casey Concepcion who can be wide receiver 1s. Although Casey's a bit smaller, he's a damn good player, man. I mean, I honestly have him up there with Mekhi Lemon, in my opinion. 5'11", 196. I mean, realistically speaking, he's around the same height and size, maybe not weight, but definitely a height of a Jamar Chase. Him and Jamar Chase are damn near the same height. I think Jamar Chase is about 5'11", right? He listed at 5'11", if not mistaken. They may have changed his height. He may have grew a little bit. I don't know. But I'm quite sure Jamar Chase came into the league at 5'11", right? He's 6 foot. What was his draft say? Let me see draft profile. Let's see. They have him listed on draft profile. 6'3". So he's an inch taller than Casey Concepcion, and about give or take 7 pounds heavier. But still, like you get the point, right? And then you have Omar Cooper, who is 6'1", 196. I like both receivers to go right here. I think for a playmaker, guy with size, and the rack ability, this is who the Browns need to lean on to be their guy going forward. You can draft a big body guy later, like a Jacoby Lane or something like that. But I think if you want to go like potential wide receiver one, without any questions being asked, Omar Cooper is the one. I think KC is a lot more versatile in a sense from a playmaking standpoint, but I think you line it up mano a mano week one, Omar Cooper can give you 70 yards right then and there in a touchdown, in my opinion. I think he's a damn good player. All right, the Bucks are at pick 21. They traded down with, of course, the Lions. And I'm sorry, they traded down with the Steelers. And I think the edge they could definitely go with still on the board. I like Keldrick Folk right here. I also like Akeem Azador. I think Akeem Azador will be the pick. I think Akeem Azador is honestly the third best edge rusher in this year's class, but he doesn't get the notoriety or heavy talks because of his age. He is a bit older. He is 25 years old once the season begins. That is a bit old, but at the same time, though, immediate impact. Shouldn't take too long for him to get his bearings together. And in 4 years, why not give him a 3-year deal or extension? Let him play till he's 33, and that's it. You know what I'm saying? Like, I think you can get a lot of Akeem Azador, even at his a bit older age. He is a versatile edge rusher that can rush the passer from so many different moves and tricks in his bag, man. He is really sound and good, in my opinion. He can definitely step in and be an instant impact player like day one. So I think this would be a great player for Todd Bowles to inherit for his defense. Pick 22. This could be a situation where, Keldrick Folk is coming in to be that extra edge for the Chargers to lean on and really learn from someone like Khalil Mack, because Khalil Mack got a lot of talk about being a raw prospect going off all athletic ability, but, Khalil Mack turned into be one of the better defensive players, not only edges, but defensive players in the last 10, 15 years of football, right? Future Hall of Famer, defensive player of the year, so on and so forth. A really good edge rusher, defensive player to learn from. And I think there's a lot of potential with Keldrick Folk. He is extremely long. Pause. He's like 6'5", has the wingspan, has all the technique to be a really, sound edge to the next level. It reminds me of Carlos Dunlap, right? Carlos Dunlap that played for the Bengals back in the day during the AJ Green and Giovanni Bernard and who else? Geno Atkins and all, Andy Dalton. That era of Bengals football. And he really reminds me of that, right? A guy that came in a bit raw, but he learned and got better in years' time and turned into a Pro Bowl edge, right? And I think Keldrick Folk can definitely be that, especially given where he's drafted in the first round. So I have Keldrick Folk going to the Chargers. Now, of course, this could be a situation where they go Kaden McDonald to really plug up their defensive line group, or go guard, right? You have guys like Christian Basantis right here on the board, but that may be too rich for a guard at the spot. So I'm going to go Keldrick Folk, who, in my opinion, at this point is still the best player available in the draft. All right, pick 23. There's a lot of talk about the edge spot for the Eagles being filled, especially, with them not having any serious edge presence on the defensive line right now, aside from, you have Nolan Smith. You have on the opposite side Jalen Hunt, right? But this also could be a situation where the Eagles walk away and say, hey, we know a player like A.J. Brown will be no longer here very soon. We already had Dontavian Wicks. We still have Devontae Smith. We grabbed Hollywood Brown and Elijah Moore for agency, right? I mean, we did make some moves to, suffice for the blow that's soon to come. They could go Denzel Boston right here. They could trade down and pick him at, so on and so forth, that pick, whatever. But I think not having the offensive line is a bit questionable right now. You have Jordan Mailata, you have Landon Dickerson, you have Cam Jurgens, Tyler Steen, and Lane Johnson. But Lane Johnson's been flirting with retirement for so long, you may want to go ahead and get his replacement on deck, right? You could go BPA right here. And I think the best tackle on the board at this point is Blake Miller. You could go Kenyon Sadiq, but I think that's just something you can afford to miss out on in the first round and grab tight end later. You don't need a defensive tackle. You already have two under contract. Well, one mainly under contract, and Jordan Davis. And I'm quite sure Jalen Carter will begin his contract extension very soon. You don't need a receiver. Why not go Blake Miller? Blake Miller can step in and be a versatile lineman that can play left or right tackle, but also, like I said, with the injury concerns of Lane Johnson, why not go ahead and get the replacement so Lane can play out one more year and, or hit the retirement home after this season? So I'm going to go Blake Miller for the Eagles at pick 23. The Cowboys, they're back on the board after trading up into the first round with the Browns at pick 6 to get Sonny Styles. And now they're back on the board, and I think this is where they go corner. I like Jeremiah McCoy a lot, but man, that injury he's having right now, the issues, the prolonging situation, and possibly requiring another surgery at some point when he's drafted, I think that's just too much for a team to inherit, especially a Cowboys team that needs players to step up on their defense right now. I like Brandon Sykes, also like Colton Hood. Colton Hood is the other cornerback that played for the Titans, the Volunteers. Stepped up big time this year in the absence of Jamal McCoy, and I think he raised his draft stock a lot. He's a bit on the shorter side, I would say, from a CB1, but 5'11" is still really good, right? You want to at least be 5'11" and up. I typically got my corners to be 6 foot 6'1", but 5'11" and 5'8", that's good enough, right? He is rated as the 5th best corner according to PFSN, and he is round one grade on him, right? And his range starts at pick 12 all the way to the second round. I think this could be a spot where, the Cowboys make that move, and they walk away with 2 cornerstone defenders, especially in someone like Sonny Styles, in the first round. So I got Colton Hood going to the Cowboys at pick 24. All right. The Bears have been in a lot of trade rumors and situations throughout this entire offseason, but have yet to pounce on anything because of things not being the right way for them. But at the same time, they have the draft assets. I just don't think they could land a significant team that was willing to make a move with them. They want defense. They need edge, and they need D-tackle. The edges right here don't scream and jump off the board. And someone like Zion Young or, I'm a big fan of TJ Parker. I think TJ Parker could definitely still go right here. I would draft him personally. You got Gabe Yakis. He's a ball player as well. Had like 12 and a half sacks for Illinois this past year. I like Malachi Lawrence. He's a ball player as well. I think any of these 4 players could definitely find themselves in Chicago. Hell, I like, someone like potentially Caden McDonald right here or Christian Miller. I think Caden McDonald, outside of Peter Woods, is definitely one of the better D-tackles in this year's class. I think he is special. I think he's a run stopper, and they need that up front, especially they tried to do last year Grady Jarrett, and it wasn't working, right? They got to get guys up front to really maul and stop the run, because at times last year when they need to get off the field during running downs offensively, they couldn't because they just had no push up front. I think Caden McDonald will be the choice right here. I had him going to the Bears in my original mocks back, right when the season ended, and I think I'm circling back to this pick right here because I think McDonald's a damn good player, and he graded out as one of the, if not the best tackle in the NFL last year. So I got Caden McDonald going to the Bears at pick 24. The Buffalo Bills, edge receiver and safety. KC Concepcion is an amazing selection right here, but he kind of does the same thing as a lot of other receivers in that room does from a yak standpoint. Although he'll be the better one in that group, I don't think they waste that pick on him. Their edge room right now is Gregory Rousseau and Bradley Chubb, but you can't bank on Bradley Chubb being healthy. I say grab TJ Parker. Big fan of TJ Parker. I think he's a damn good player, and he should be a first-round pick. He probably won't be, but he should be. He had an amazing sophomore season that got cut. Not really short, but it's a bit underwhelming because the Clemson Tigers defense in totality, really their whole entire team, was underwhelming this past year, which is why guys like Peter Woods are starting to fall down. He may not even go first round. I'm just putting him in because I think he should go first round. Guys like TJ Parker may fall down. Hell, Avion Terrell may fall down because of his, poor combine in pro day. Not because he's a bad player, it's because he's unhealthy. I think TJ Parker should be here at pick 26 for the Bills to pick up, and he'll be an amazing selection for them. They have a need for edge rusher. They have some older guys that can be like, debt rotational pieces, but if you can have a a edge like Parker screaming off the edge, you'll need that come playoff time, especially in those big game moments. Pick 27. At first, I was going to lean more so towards tackle, but after Trent Williams getting his contract extension, he ain't going nowhere, right? So it's time to add pieces on the offense for Brock Purdy to throw to, and I think this is where someone like Casey Concepcion should and will be drafted to. They have no receiver. Brandon Ayuk will be traded here very soon. Don't know the situation with him. Ricky Pearsall, Juwan Jennings is a free agent. The Niners have a need for a receiver. They make it happen right here with Casey Concepcion, who, in my opinion, is arguably the third or maybe even top 2 receiving threat in this year's draft class from an overall playmaking standpoint. Yak, possession, big time grabs on the field, also being an ace special teamer from a punt return and kick returning standpoint. He is a playmaker with the ball in his hands, and he'll be a great fit for Kyle Shanahan to work with on his offense. Pick 28. This is where more guards will come off the board or tackles. I think Max Ian Connor out of Arizona State should be the pick right here for the Texans. They also could go Christian Miller to really beef up their defensive line and really wreak hell and havoc amongst all the teams in football, especially in the AFC South. They also could go Chase Pasantis, or they could trade down. They could trade down for a team that's looking to come back into the first round. And hell, they did it last year. Why not just do it again? And I think I will. I'm going to have the Cardinals trade back into the first round with the Texans and grab who they believe can be their next franchise quarterback in Ty Simpson. Now, do I agree with that? Absolutely not. But hell, I ain't the one making it happen. So I do believe, let me see, I'm about to give up pick 104. I can't give up a second rounder. Maybe I have to, or a third round. I'll give up a fourth rounder. I think that's good enough. That'll make it happen. Maybe 106, 141. I'm trying to make it even for these boys, but screw it. So the Texans dropping down to pick 34 in the second round, and the Cardinals giving up pick 34 and 104 to get back into the first and draft Ty Simpson. Do I agree? No. But who's to say Ty Simpson will make it when in the second round you have teams like the Jets? Hell, the Steelers could come calling, right? You don't want to wait. You want to make the move happen, especially if he's your franchise guy. And also, if he ends up being your guy, that fifth or option is really big to play on for a quarterback if he's that dude, especially in the first round, right? So I have Ty Simpson going to the Arizona Cardinals. So the Cardinals walk away with Jeremiah Love and Ty Simpson in the first round, right? Their offense should be on fire. Defensively, they have to make some moves, but offensively, man, they just brought in their 2 franchise cornerstone pieces, especially really at the running back and quarterback level, potentially. Chiefs back on the board. They already went Reuben Bain Jr. Now, this could be where the Chiefs take a flag or flyer on Jamal McCoy, or they could go Brandon Seiss, and maybe the guy that's been getting a lot of draft buzz of late, Chris Johnson, cornerback out of San Diego State. Now, I believe I had the Dolphins selecting Francis Moyaga. So I know they're looking to add a receiver or a corner at this spot right here, right? But what do the Chiefs do? They have a need for tackle too. They do. And Max Ian Connor is right there. I think Max Ian Connor will be heading to the Chiefs. The Chiefs don't have a right tackle right now. Their right tackle is, let me see, it's probably some random. I know Josh Simpson was amazing for them last year when he was on the field and participating because he had a lot of off-the-field stuff going with family. But they have Jalen Moore. Patrick Mahomes is coming off a bad ACL, MCL, and LCL injury. Whatever his injury was, he tore his knee to shreds, right? You don't need Patrick Mahomes scampering around the field like he did last year. Now, granted, Kenneth Walker's going to help out a lot, but a running back, in my opinion, does not make up a running game. You have to have your offensive line on par to block and hold their, run scheme, run fits and whatnot. Run scheme. Why not? I'm going to make it happen. I'm going to go Max Ian Connor to come in and play right tackle. And then now the Chiefs have 2 bookend tackles with Josh Simpson I'm sorry, Josh Simmons and Maxine Connor on the left and right hand side. Pick 30. The Dolphins have already went BPA with someone like Francis Muyaga, who's not going far. He's heading back to Miami, right, where he plays college ball. At pick 30, this is where you can see a lot of things happen. And also, I want to say I definitely could have went Kenyon Sadiq at pick 29. And I wish I would have thought about that before I just made the selection, but I won't cheat it. I'm gonna stick with it because at pick 31, you never know, right? So boom. You have the Dolphins right here. They could go Kenyon Sadiq, right? They definitely could. Well, they probably not, but you never know, especially given the fact that you're bringing in a head coach, Jeff Hafley, who is coming from the Matt LaFleur tree of an emphasis being on tight end play. We all know how great Tucker Kraft was for this Packers team before he went down with an ACL injury. You never know. You never really know, to be honest. And it's not like the Dolphins are picking late in the second. There's still some quality corners on the board. I'm looking right now. You have guys like Jamal McCoy, who could definitely be there in a second. I say make it happen. Brandon Seiss, Avion Terrell, Chris Johnson, Keith Abney, Julian Neal. I mean, you never know, right? But I think I'm going to be the smart option right here. And I'm going to just go consensus first-round grade corner. Actually, no, I'm going to think outside the box. I've been hearing a lot of great things about Chris Johnson, and I think he'll be a great pickup for this Dolphins defense. They have a need for it. They also have a need for a receiver. Damn, man. This is tough. I'm going to go Kenyon Sadiq, the Dolphins, at pick 30. They have a need for a receiver. They have a need for corner, but they have a need for a receiver. Man, they have no legitimate offensive weapons. And I already had them passing up on Mekhi Lemon for Francis Muyaga, which may look dumb in hindsight. I don't know, but I think I'm really big on solidifying and shoring up your trenches rather than always just going offensive skill position player at said position, right? I think you have a haul of Francis Muyaga and Kenyon Sadiq in the first round. That is a really, really good haul, in my opinion, to really jumpstart your franchise going forward, and really gives you that idea of, okay, like, we're going to run the ball still, right? Because we have, our tackle play is going to be improved from last year, but also we're going to run an offense that emphasizes on getting our best playmaker the ball, which is going to be Kenyon Sadiq. So I like that a lot. Pick 31. This is where I think edge comes right here for the Patriots. I like Malachi Lawrence. I like Zion Young. I like Gabe Yakis. But I think right here, Zion Young will be the pick. Damn good player out of Missouri. He kind of fits that mold of what the Patriots want to do on defense from a run stopping and getting out to the passer standpoint. And he can definitely get it going as an edge rusher as well. So I like Zion Young right here at pick 31. And at pick 32, although they're begging and pleading, I'm trying to think of who could possibly trade with them before, because I know they want to trade so bad. Could this be where the Jaguars jump back into the first round and grab a player? I'm not sure if the Jaguars find a player worth it at 32 to grab. I know there's been a lot of talk about them possibly trading up to grab someone like Jadarian Price. That's just too rich in my opinion. I mean, Jadarian Price is the 72nd best player available in the draft, according to PFSN. I don't think they should do that. And also, if you look at the D tackles, I mean, they could go Christian Miller right here. The Jaguars could, but Christian Miller doesn't really give you that nose tackle. They're looking for. Lee Hunter does, but Lee Hunter may fall a little bit, right? So this could be a spot where the Jaguars do trade up, man. I'm trying to think on this before I even submit this pick. I'm trying to think. I'm reading Christian Miller isn't quite the caliber of D tackle prospect we've seen from Georgia in years past, but he's still a very real early round candidate with an NFL translatable superpower that underpins his game. At 6'4", 315 pounds with high-end natural leveraging burst and length, Miller has eye-popping power profile that enables him to routinely reset the line in the run game. Jaguars definitely need that. With sludge hammer hands, he can collapse blockers one-on-one. He has the raw power and strength to violently stack and shed, pretty much meaning blocks. Developing pass rusher, you know what I'm saying, from a run stopping standpoint. But if he's going to be that stout in the run game, at 6'3" and a quarter, 321 pounds, the Jaguars could do it. They definitely could, but I'd rather just wait for Lee Hunter. I think Lee Hunter can do that and be more effective, in my opinion. I don't know. So I'm trying to think of any other team that the Seahawks could trade with. I mean, I don't see the Steelers trading back into the first to grab any quarterback. I mean, the Jets could definitely make a move and really say, hell, we went edge rusher, we went, you know what I'm saying, receiver. Let's go get corner. Right? This could be where the Jets trade back into the first. Oh, man, I'm trying to think before I submit this pick. I'm trying to think of any other team that can possibly trade back into the first and grab a guy. I'm not seeing one, man. I'm really not. I'm not seeing it. Well, that's tough. I'm flirting with the idea of the Jets trading back into the first. Let's see what the Jets have. The Jets have pick. Yeah, I mean, they literally pick next. So, like, why would they do that? Why would they do that? I mean, why would they do that? And that makes no sense. So, no, their guy will be there. I just don't see a world where any team outside of the Jaguars that can trade up. But for Christian Miller, I don't know. All right, man. I'll just stick with the pick. I'm gonna go edge rusher right here for the Seahawks. I know I did a lot of talking on that one, but I'm gonna go Gabe Yakis. I think Gabe Yakis is a damn good player out of Illinois. Had a magnificent junior season. He is a designated pass rusher for this team. They also lost Bo Mafe in free agency as well. So you bring in Gabe Yakis. You still have that amazing front led by, of course, Leonard Williams and also the kid out of Texas. What was the kid's name? Just got married recently, right? Byron. Oh gosh, forgive me. I gotta look his name up. I should know this. I know ball, right? Byron Murphy. All right. So you have DeMarcus Lawrence who's getting a bit older. I say why not? I mean, that'll be pretty much shoring up your defensive line, and you kind of pick up from where you left off with Boye Mafe, who in my opinion was a bit underwhelming last year. So you bring in Gabe Yakis that can definitely step in and be that DPR for this Eagles, the Seahawks defense. Now they could go at corner with that pick as well, but I think edge would be a bit more prominent than going corner. They can go corner and trade up later, or they could trade down and grab corner. I don't know. They want to trade for sure. You know, their GMs definitely made it an emphasis on trading in this year's draft. But as you can see, man, this is my first round. A few trades went down, as you can see. But I'm gonna put on the bit screen for y'all to really fully engage with. This is how I think the first round will go, to this nature of some sorts, right? I think this would be a really sound haul for a lot of teams. I don't see too many teams reaching for picks right here. I think this is all solid selections, you know, especially with the Browns kind of flirting with the idea of trading out the first. I think they definitely could do that. I mean, I don't think they're really sold on anybody in that top 10 if it's not a tackle that they believe that will last until they pick 12, which I think Spencer Brown definitely can. But other than that, man, I think this is going to be what the first round looks like. I can definitely see the Cardinals trading back into the first and grabbing someone like Ty Simpson to be their franchise guy at pick 28. That'll be the ideal trade partner with them, especially with the Houston Texans not really needing much. They need to add to their offensive line, but, you know, those offensive linemen will be there, in my opinion, in the second round, especially with them grabbing that early second round. So they have 2 second-round picks, or maybe even 3 second-round picks, but definitely 2 second-round picks. So that's how I see it going, man. We'll see. Thank you all for tapping in. This was really fun. I'll be back for draft recap on Monday. I'm excited. Be safe. Have fun at your at your draft parties, not Super Bowl parties, your draft parties. And we'll catch y'all next time, man. Thank you so much for tapping in. That is officially a wrap.